You are welcome to today's lesson. We are continuing our discussion on series and sequence. In today's lesson, we want to look at more illustrative examples on series and sequence. In our previous discussion, we discussed that a sequence is therefore a pattern of numbers given in a definite order. And we also discussed that to get the next term in sequence, you first need to look for the pattern that you know, whether you are dealing with even numbers, square numbers, odd numbers, multiple numbers, prime numbers, etc. And we said that this can help you to continue the sequence. It is advisable to note that if you are unable to recognize the pattern between the numbers, then you have to try and work it out. How do we work it out? First, investigate whether or not the subsequent numbers, which is the next set of numbers, are getting bigger or smaller. In other words, when we are unable to identify the pattern, we have to find out whether or not the next set of numbers, which is the subsequent numbers, are getting bigger or smaller. Then, we work out how to get from one number to the next.
Now, if the subsequent numbers are getting bigger, then a certain number may be added to each term, or each term may be multiplied by a certain number. This implies that if the next set of numbers, which is the subsequent numbers, are getting bigger, it is an indication that a certain number may be either added to or multiplied to the previous term to get the next term. And the only way numbers can get bigger in a sequence is when a certain number is either added or multiplied to the previous term. On the other hand, if the numbers are getting smaller, then a certain number may be subtracted from each term, or each term may be divided by a certain number. What this implies is that the only way numbers in a sequence can get smaller is when a certain number has been either subtracted or divided from the previous or preceding term. Let's look at an example. In this example, we are to find the next three terms in each pattern and show how to work them out. The first example is 16, 8, 4, 2, and we have to provide the next three terms. The next example is 199, 97, 94, and we have to provide the next three terms. The third example is 14, 7, 10, and also we are supposed to provide the next three terms. And the last example is 220, 200, and 2000. And in the same way, we are supposed to continue and provide the next three terms. Now let's take a look at the first example. What is the pattern between these set of numbers? You realize that the numbers keep getting smaller. From 16, we move to 8, from 8 to 4, and 4 to 2. This is an indication that as we keep moving, we'll be getting smaller numbers. And remember, we said that if the set of numbers or the sequence is getting smaller, it is an indication that a certain number has either been subtracted or divided from the previous number. So what do we need to do to get the next term? And so in this example, you realize that when we divide each term by 2, it will produce the next term. So let's work it out just as it was demanded in the question. If I pick the first number, which is 16, and divide by 2, I'm going to produce 8. Now, if I divide this same 8 by the number 2, I'm going to produce 4. If I divide this 4 by the number 2, I'm going to produce 2. Now, let's continue the sequence. Now, if I divide 2 by the number 2, what do I get? I'm going to be producing 1. Let's continue the sequence. We are dividing through by 2. So now I'm going to divide this 1 by the number 2. If I divide by 2, what do I get? I'll be getting half. 1 out of 2. We continue the sequence because we are supposed to get the next 3 terms. So what will be the last term? We continue by dividing the half by the number 2. When we do 2, that will produce 1/4, which is 1 out of 4. So these are the next 3 numbers in the sequence. Let's take a look at the second example. And so we have 100, 99, 97, 94. How do we get the next 3 numbers? You observe that the numbers keep getting smaller from 100 to 99, from 99 to 97, and now 94. How do we get the next 3 numbers? Remember, we said that when the numbers are getting smaller, it is an indication that a certain number has either been subtracted or divided from the previous number. So what do I do to 100 to get 99? Am I going to divide or I'm going to subtract? What do I do to 99 to get 97? Am I dividing or subtracting? In that order. And so in this case, we are to subtract the counting numbers. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that order. So let's work it out and see the way forward. So the numbers given to us were 100, 99, 97, 94. So we want to observe the pattern. What are we going to do to 100 to get 99? In this solution, we are supposed to subtract using counting numbers. The first counting number is 1. So we are subtracting 1 from 100. When I subtract 1 from 100, it will produce 99. The next counting number after 1 is 2. So I'm going to subtract 2, the number 2, from 99. If I subtract 2 from 99, it will produce 97. What is the next counting number after 2? That is 3. So if I subtract the number 3 from 97, it will produce the next number 94. How do I get the next 3 terms? So we'll continue using counting numbers. What is the next counting number after 3? That is definitely 4. So I'm going to subtract 4 from 94, and that will produce the next number 90. Let's continue the sequence. This time I'm going to subtract 5 from 90, and that will produce the number 85. Let's get the last number. In the same way, we continue with the counting number. The next counting number will be 6. So I'm going to subtract 6 from 85, and that will produce our last number, 79. Let's look at the third example. In this example, we have to provide the next 3 terms. To do that, let's look at the pattern. You observe that the numbers keep getting bigger from 1 to 4, from 4 to 7, and 7 to 10, which is an indication that as we keep moving, the numbers will keep getting bigger. And we said that when the numbers are getting bigger in a sequence, it is an indication that a certain number has either been added or multiplied to the previous number to get the next number. So what do I need to do to 1 to get 4? What do I do to 4 to get 7? What do I do to 7 to get 10? Are we adding or we are multiplying? Can you guess? Okay, so in this case, we are supposed to add. And when we add the number 3 to each term, it will produce the next term. So these are the set of numbers given to us. So when I pick the first term and I add the number 3, it will produce the next number 4. When I add the number 3 again to 4, it will produce the next number 7. When I add the number 3 to 7, it will produce the next number 10. Let's continue the sequence. This time we are adding the number 3 to 10, and that will produce the number 13. When I add 3 to 13, that will also produce the number 16. And in the same way, I'm going to add the number 3 to 16, and that will produce my last number, 19. Now let's take a look at the fourth example. In the same way, we have to provide the next 3 terms. In this case, you realize that the numbers keep getting bigger. What do I do to 2 to get 20? 20 to get 200, and 200 to get 2000. Remember, we said when the numbers are getting bigger, it is an indication that a certain number has either been added or multiplied to the previous number to get the next number. So are we adding or we are multiplying to produce the next number? In this case, we are to multiply each term by 10 to get the next term. So the numbers given to us are 220, 200, and 2000. So when I pick the first term, which is 2, and multiply by 10, it will produce 20. When I multiply 20 by 10, it will produce the next number, 200. If I multiply 200 by 10, it will produce the next number, 2000. Now we need the next 3 terms. So we continue the sequence. I'll multiply 2000 by 10, and that will produce the next number, 20,000. I'll multiply 20,000 by 10, and that will produce the next number, 200,000. Multiplying 200,000 by 10 will produce 2 million. Let's take a look at our assignment for the lesson. In this assignment, you have to provide the next 3 terms in each pattern and show us how you work them out. So the first set of numbers are 11, 7, 3, negative 1, and you have to provide the next 3 terms. The second set is 1, 3, 7, 13, and you have to provide the next 3 numbers. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next lesson.